What's going on, guys? You got your coach of the Gym Chargers here for week 12 of the GBA. We are up against El Scizor, also known as Lars, coach of the Borussia Donphans. And this is the final week before playoffs, so it's going to be a very interesting match to see how this all plays out. He brings a team of Mesprit, Dredagon, Crawdon, Mega Alakazam, Scizor, and Aromatisse. And if you guys notice anything about his team, he didn't bring Lando I. And that was like as soon as I saw that in the team preview going into this game, like live going into this game, I just started laughing a little bit because he didn't bring Lando. Like Lando's like the biggest threat, or just the biggest threat in general in any draft league. I mean, this thing is a monster. He didn't bring it, so I was just like, yeah, all right, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be very nice for me since he didn't bring the one Pokemon that anybody can just use and do well with. He didn't bring, so that's good. He didn't bring Shaman either, so Shaman, I mean, that's kind of a threat to my team as well. Pretty good Pokemon versus me. He didn't bring, as well as Raichu. He didn't bring that either. That was pretty good that he didn't bring that. For me, that is, it was good that he did bring it. And he also didn't bring Vaporeon, and I mean, Vaporeon, it's a pretty big nuisance to my team since it can wish and has water absorbing. It can check Gyarados pretty well. He didn't bring that either, so a lot of the Pokemon that I thought he'd bring, he didn't bring. So that's actually a really good thing for me in the fact that now I'm just able to sort of play a little bit better since I don't have to face those kinds of threats to my team. But he does have some Pokemon that can cause some trouble. For instance, I mean, Mega Alakazam is just a threat overall. I do have an Assault Vest Donphan for that, which is nice. And I mean, looking at his team, it looks like he does not have any sort of hazard control. I mean, Scizor is a defogger, sure, but looking at the way his team is structured, it doesn't look like defog Scizor. It looks like offensive Scizor to me. So getting rocks, going into this battle, getting rocks is my priority, because I want his team to get whittled down as quickly as possible so that my other Pokemon can take advantage of it. So Jirachi can definitely put in a lot of work. I figured that would be my best lead in this scenario, and I mean, it kind of just does well versus 5 out of 6 of his Pokemon should he decide to lead off with them. I mean, I don't have any fire coverage for the Scizor, but getting up rocks definitely a priority. So let's just go ahead and see how this game goes, and I'll show you guys what exactly went down. So let the battle commence. Alright, so it looks like he's going to be issuing that challenge. Not even bad. I'm going to be leading off with the Pokemon Marachi as he leads off with the Aromatisse. So pretty nice lead for me. I just go ahead here, get up my rocks, because the rocks, like I said, very important for this game. He goes for the Trick Room here. So now I know pretty much his team is kind of a Trick Room team. So he goes for the HP Fire here. As you can see, he does a little bit less than half. I go for the Energy Ball, expecting him to maybe want to pivot out into his Crawdon. But I mean, I should probably know from now that he does not make those kinds of switches. So I just decide here to go for the Iron Head as he reveals the Babiri Berry. So it kind of explains why he decided to stay in, since he knows that he can take an Iron Head. And not wanting to sack off my Raichu just yet, I decided to switch it out, save it maybe for fodder later on, or if I can use it later. I go into my Donphan here because Donphan is Assault Vest. Mr. Jamvad can take these hits all day. He's been doing it since Gen probably 4. I don't know how long Mr. Jamvad was playing Pokemon, but he's been alive for a while. But he goes, so Lars goes for the Moonblast here as I go right for the Earthquake, bringing Aromatisse down pretty low as Trick Room wears out. Then I just go for the knockoff here in case he wanted to switch out or anything. It was just my best play overall. So Donphan was able to pretty much just get rid of this Aromatisse, stall out the Trick Room, because Assault Vest is able to just eat up so many hits from special attacks. So he goes into Crawdon here. I decide to switch out and go into my Keldeo. Pretty reliable switch in, as he can't really OHKO me with anything. Any of his stab moves. He goes for the knockoff here, and I get a justified boost. Doesn't matter since I am a special attacker. And he knocks off my leftovers. He does reveal to be Life Orb though, so I can expect him to want to switch out here into his Mesprit because it can take a Secret Sword really well. So I decided that I'd just go for the Scald here, expecting his switch. See if I can fish for a burn maybe on something, as I do not get that. Mesprit is able to take it pretty well, so that's good for him. I decide that my best play here is not to stay in, it is in fact to switch out here into my Donphan, because Donphan, it can eat up Psychics, it can eat up probably an Ice Beam or two, and it just does really well versus his Mesprit. He decides to go for the Trick Room here, so I mean, I know now that I have known since turn 1 that he's running a Trick Room team, so I just decide here that I'd go for the, I believe the knockoff here. As you can see, he goes right into his Crawdon. And I'm able to just go ahead here, click that knockoff as he brings in Crawdon. It gets some Stealth Rock damage, which is nice. Like you see here, the Stealth Rocks are whittling his team down. Get a crit on the knockoff, which doesn't really matter too much. Crawdon can just resist that for days. But I just go here into my Jirachi just to sack it off. like what I gotta do basically versus Trick Room is kind of stall out Trick Room by sacking the right Pokemon when I have to, and bringing out the Pokemon that will threaten his Trick Room abusers. So I bring in my Fabio here as I sack off Rachi because I didn't really need it anymore. That's kind of why I save Pokemon when they're low. You know, you gotta save Pokemon in order to make efficient sacks. Now I go here into my Ampharos as I can Mega Evolve. He goes for the Crunch. Thinking long term, getting rid of that Life Orb was really nice in order for that Crunch not to do as much damage, so that's really good. I can go for the Dragon Pulse here, all around good play, and just take out the Crawdon. So Crawdon is down. He's going to be able to go now into his Druddigon, and Druddigon here, another Life Orb Trick Room abuser. As you'll soon see, he goes for the Dragon Claw here. I don't really have a safe switch in or any switch in that's worth damaging any of my other Pokemon for, so I just sack off Ampharos here. As you can see, he is a Life Orb Druddigon with probably Sheer Force. Twisted Dimensions return to normal, so Trick Room has worn off. I go into my Donphan here. Like I said, thinking long term, I gotta knock off all of these powerhouses, Life Orbs, so I can weaken them in the in the long run pretty much. So he pretty much just goes for the Outrage right here, bringing me down pretty low. As what I could do now on this next turn is go right for the Earthquake, bringing him down a little bit lower, and he goes for the Outrage and knocks out my Donphan here. So I mean, Donphan put in a lot of work, was able to knock off the Crawdon, knock off the pretty much the Druddigon here. And now what I can do is take this as an opportunity to go into my Gyarados, Crashing Boom Bang, because he is confused. He did not see Intimidate, so he probably knows that I have Moxie and decides to switch out into Scizor, but little does he know, after rocks, right? All because of this rock, right? After rock, Waterfall from Adamant Gyarados is a 2-hit KO, so I'm able to just go for the Waterfall right here, go for it once again, and knock it out. And now what I can do is actually just go ahead and get that Moxie boost here. So Scizor is down, my Gyarados gets that Moxie from the KO here, and he is going to be forced to go into his Mesprit, take some more rock damage here, so I can just go ahead, use Waterfall on this Mesprit here, and actually end up getting, I think I get a low roll here, depending on his EV spread, but I'm pretty sure I get a low roll here, very low roll, as he goes for the Trick Room. So I don't really expect him to have what he has next, which is Healing Wish, so I didn't really see that coming, but I mean, that's perfectly fine because I have a little trick up my sleeve. So Mesprit goes down as I go for the Waterfall here. I could have probably predicted that and went for the sub, but I figured that he might just Thunderbolt or something. He's able to Healing Wish his Druddigon back up to full, and of course, you know, he'll be taking some rock damage as he brings that in. But now what I can do here is actually, he does reveal Thunder Punch, but because I thought long term, because I thought that knocking off the Life Orb would be so useful, and now I'm able to just live with the Wakan Berry, so I can go for the bounce here, and that just pays off completely. So he goes to the Dragon Claw, I do dodge, and I can go for the bounce here. The roll on that Thunder Punch from non-Life Orb was like max 98, so I would have lived it guaranteed. And now he can just knock me out. So I'm able to stall out Trick Room with that bounce, and that really is crucial because now Trick Room is gone. I can now go into Baby Chimp, and as you will soon see, Baby Chimp is going to put in that work with a knockoff, knocking off not only the Druddigon here, but his last Pokemon. And his last Pokemon is, of course, going to be Alakazam. I am Choice Scarf Sneasel, so I am faster than Mega Alakazam naturally. It was kind of funny to see his Alakazam take some rock damage because he's running Inner Focus, not Magic Guard, for whatever odd reason. But that's pretty cool since, I mean, even from full, knockoff would still be able to OHKO Mega Alakazam, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway. But it was just pretty cool to see Alakazam take some Stealth Rock damage. You don't really see that too often, and I can just go ahead and knock out Mega Alakazam and just wrap up this game. So GG, it's Emvee, and we are now 9-3. And that is how we're going to be finishing off this season, 9-3, and now we're going to be going into the playoffs, which is, I'm not sure when. Have to ask and find out. I don't know if it's next week or the week after. I'm not really sure about that, but that is going to be game. Hope you all enjoyed. Definitely good game, Lars, man. You played well, and you know, I never expected Trick Room, but I kind of know how to play around Trick Room since I have faced it. I've used it. I've used Trick Room on the OU ladder. I faced it as well, so pretty cool for sure. And I'm just glad that he didn't bring a lot of threats that I thought he would bring, because that would have made it a little bit trickier since he just has a good matchup versus me overall. And that's pretty much that. Let's just talk about our losses here. So, you know, Blunder lost to that Lando Eye. Blunder was the one that played Lars first and lost, so I had to redeem him for that. Joey actually took that A-Drive game that I had last week, and he did not want me to reveal it, but he actually played that game. You may all know him by another name as Pokegame MD. He wears white gloves, and his real name is Kumar, Blunder's best friend. And he shares the same gender as I do. So, you know, I didn't really lose that one. and I had to face Nick. I lost versus Nick. That was my legitimate loss. So I think I'd really be like 11-1 right now if it weren't for Blunder and Joey. But you know, I had to feature guest cameo star those two creatures so that they could get some publicity for their channels. Just trying to help some rising Pokemon YouTube stars in the making. But you know, go ahead and check out Lars if you want to watch the battle from his point of view. Also in the description will be the team building video from yesterday if you want to see how I made this team. And that is that. So, you know, looking forward to hearing from you all, and I will see you guys on the next one. Chim Chargers out.